And today's guest on the Financial Planner Live podcast is Sam Patterson from the Patterson Group. Sam has a wealth of experience within the financial planning profession. He's been a paraplanner, a paraplanning manager. He helps design and create exam questions, and he's a consultant for financial planning firms. And if you run a financial planning company, you need to listen to this podcast episode. We're going to take a deep dive into how to motivate your back office team. That includes paraplanners. And if you are a paraplanner, we're going to educate you on what you can do to add value to your company to secure you a pay rise and a promotion. An excellent episode this week. You are going to love it. Sam, thank you so much for joining me today on the Financial Planner Live podcast. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me.
You're more than welcome. And this is our second meeting in the last week, because last week you joined me for a roundtable discussion in the Financial Planner Life Academy, didn't you? We were just talking about that. It was really good, wasn't it?
Honestly, I thought you would be sick to death of me by now. But no, as you said, it was excellent. I've never had that before, where you've got an administrator, a paraplanner, and a few advisors sat around the table discussing all things financial planning. Really informal, some great conversation. Yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. Looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, I loved it as well. And I think the idea of the round table was, especially for our audience, specifically within the Financial Planner Life Academy, is to give them some content. But what we want to do is sort of take into consideration that they don't really know the ins and outs of how what the process is within financial planning, based on the individuals that do each step of each step. So you had an admin, a power planner, operation, a financial planner who sold a business, a financial planner that was employed, chartered. It was and power planner and power planner manager. So it was, to me, it was just like brilliant. So how can we get everyone talking about a process and everybody can chip in at the bit that they do? And I thought it was really good. So I'm keen to see and hear the feedback from people and about how we can develop that further. And then you're kind of coming into my community now as a mentor and someone I can lean into. And it's something that you add value, because what I love about your background and your experience, which you're going to share with us in a minute, is that you consult companies about back office, about power planning. You've worked as a power planner. You've been a married manager. So you're able to, and you're part of the Paraplanner Club, aren't you? Which Shan Davies Cole set up. So you're a mentor. So I think you're just a great guy to really lean into and for people to learn from. And I'm really, really pleased we're connected. Another great example of what the Financial Planner Life Academy is all about and what we're trying to do. We're trying to not just get you passing your qualifications. We're trying to give you career education and upskilling you in the things that you need to do in the jobs you're going to go for. And it's not just financial advice, it's paraplanning, admin, compliance. It's different roles for different people based on different skill sets, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It is. As I said, I think it's an excellent way that you look at, everyone thinks, how do you progress? And everyone thinks qualifications, that's how you progress. And you go, I'm chartered myself, and that's what I'd always worked for, is I need to do my exams. I studied and studied and studied, and I got chartered, and I thought I've made it. And the next day I went, nothing's changed.
Yeah,
I've got some letters after my name, and yes, it has a level of credibility, a bit of a market value that comes with that, but nothing really changes. So it's like, that's what my business now is a lot of, is going into businesses and going, how can you maximize your profits? Now, I'm not saying maximize your profits, do some underhand, backhanded, really simple. To me, does complexity add value or does it detract from value? I think complexity detracts from value. So how do you get more profits? You empower your team, you get more from your team. They will give a better service to your clients. That will refer more clients. That makes the shareholders happy. So to me, it's invest in your team, get the most out of your team. It's win-win for everyone.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So you're going into businesses and you're offering that consultancy services, financial planning firms specifically. Your background then in power planning and operations, I guess, and allows you to see things from a different perspective because you've been there, done it, got the t-shirt. And I think often the back office and the front office, especially within financial planning, can be quite disconnected. And there needs to be more communication and more understanding and simplicity and fluidity. But also personalities wise, there's different job roles, there's different expectations on each person's shoulder, and you can create kind of negativity around that. I've so many paraplanners feel undervalued, for example, in financial planning firms, and they feel like they want a pay rise and they don't know how to do it. They don't know how to. The financial planner just thinks, I go out and do the work, so I'm giving you the work to do, so I'm giving you a job. And sometimes there's a lot of old school thinking around it. It doesn't feel very joined up and very team based. So I love what you're doing there, and I think we should definitely get into some of the complexities, how to decomplex something, and what are some of the key things that you're seeing within firms that they can do better. Let's start with that one. When you're going into these firms, what are the usual typical things that people are doing that are wrong and that are real quick fixes? So a business owner listening to this now, what's a quick fix for a business owner when you go into their firms to improve their business, either productivity or to declutter it? Tell us some of the things that are problems and how you're sorting it out.
I think a key problem in the industry, and I'm sure people listening, whether you're business owners, reflecting on what you have, whether you're a paraplanner, whether you're an administrator, whether you're an advisor, you can fall into the trap of becoming pigeonholed. That is your role. I'm an administrator. This is my job role. That is my role. You don't like, you're a paraplanner. You don't perhaps like the sales target. The sales targets that comes with being an advisor as part of you are very often a target-driven job. So therefore, you can't have any client contact. You are a business owner looking to exit. You've worked through your life. You've built up a business. You're looking to take an exit. But you're really struggling to find another financial advisor, but that's the only way you can go. An advisor that I'm working with at the moment, exactly that. Mid-60s, worked for 30 years, they've grown the business. I think they employ about 15 people. Now, they want to, they've had a couple of grandchildren now, they want to start spending some more time with the family, but how do you exit that? Because to this gentleman, it's not just a business, he is advising friends, business people he's worked with for over 30 years, and suddenly go, Sam, it's been excellent to work with you over the last 30 years. We've made a great financial plan for you. I've met your family. I've put your intergenerational plans, but actually someone's offered me some money now, so see you later.
Yeah.
And what I've been speaking, he just could not find the right fit. He tried to find the financial advisor to come in and it just wasn't the right fit for whatever reason. And I bumped into this guy at a networking event, and it started off as a conversation going, what happens if you didn't have to completely exit? And he went, well, how does that happen? I went, have you got paraplanners? And he went, yeah, I've got a couple, been there for 10 plus years. They've always wanted to be paraplanners. They are what I would call a rock star. They are the base. That is what that firm is based on. I said, well, how's their knowledge? Excellent knowledge. They know the clients. They really care. What about getting them more involved? And he never thought about, what do you mean? I went, well, start upskilling the paraplanners. They can deal with some of the ongoing maintenance of clients, of their annual reviews, fielding queries, investment. I think today inflation at 4.9% might have some client queries on that. They can field those queries to free up the owner, the main financial advisor, to go, I'm only going to work 2 days a week. And actually, all I'm going to do for those 2 days a week, because my time is really valuable, I'm going to sit in front of new clients. I'm going to sit in front of my old larger clients. That's what I enjoy doing. So actually, it doesn't feel like work. And then he still keeps ownership. People in his office feel empowered. They feel like they're taking a step up. Financially, you can share around some of that. So it's win-win. And that's just because he's got his head around really not thinking a paraplanner. They sit behind the computer. They come up with the plan. They come up with the technical aspects to it, that they don't have client contact. That's not what they do. So we've really worked with him with getting over that.
And did you find that that's really interesting? And what a great way to look at it as well. So there is a financial planner. They can't find the right buyer. Their clients are like their friends and their family, and they hold a deep relationship with them. And they're very nervous about selling it to a consolidator with all the negativity and things that go along with that. Or they don't like the personality of the person that might be buying it. They're worried they're just going to chop it up and get rid of the clients they don't care about and keep the ones they want. And it is a worry. I used to run a company called Gunner & Co., which is an acquisition business. I set it up, an IFA acquisition business, and I really got to understand the connection between the advisors or the advisor, the business owner, and the clients. And it's their baby at the end of the day. And against popular belief, they're not all just looking to get the best price. when they sell their business. And what a wonderful thing to look at there in respect of like the power planners within the business. So he was, what was he, one man band? Was he like one advisor? So a couple of power planners, administrators, power planner administrator. Okay. And the power planner then, let's look at that then, the power planners. Did you, when you sort of advised him on that and you said, look, why don't you look at what your power planners are doing? Why don't we upskill them to make them client facing? So they weren't client facing power planners at that point? No. Okay, so interesting. Now, when you spoke to those power planners or when you influenced him about that and it was positioned to them that why don't you step up to now actually sit in front of clients and deliver some of the things that the advisor was doing, what was their response?
Initially, the power planner was a bit, that's not in my lane. That's not what I do. And then we got talking. So I said, Sam, you're a power planner. If you have any clients, no, don't like client contact, it's like, okay, let me rephrase that. Do you have external clients? No. What about internal clients? And suddenly you can see the cog starting to work. And you go, okay, let's build on that. I think all power planners have clients. They're just internal ones. So it's how do you manage your relationship with the advisors? They are asking you questions, perhaps coming with you queries when you don't quite want them. You have to listen to their point of view. You have to put your point of view back to them. It's exactly what an advisor does with a client. So I sat down with the power planner and the advisor, the owner, and said, okay, so let's think of the skills the great advisor needs. Empathetic listening, time management, probably being quite comfortable in delegating. Now, these things are the base of the pyramid. Yep. It's only at the top where you go, a power planner, team manager, or advisor. It's the top bit, but the base foundations, skills, pretty much the same. So it's trying to build on that way, going, look, Mr. Power Planner, you've never done it before. I can understand you're a bit unnerved by this. It's a jump into the unknown. But actually, when you talk about your existing skills, all we're doing is using your existing skills for a different target audience. There's nothing new here. It's just a different way of presenting it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what probably is living inside of them is that also feeling like putting the client almost on a bit of a pedestal or putting the advisor on a bit of a pedestal that, well, I can't do that. And you're absolutely right. That's like the tip of the iceberg bit, isn't it? But actually all the basis, all the skill sets are exactly the same, the foundations. And if anything, actually power planners are positioned to understand it probably better, I believe, than the financial planner. And that's not taken away from a financial planner like they don't know as much as a power planner, but it's day in, day out organization. It's day in, day out research and detail and attention to detail and the compliance ticking and all of those, getting the documentation in, the organizational skills, often the things that are lacking actually with a financial planner because they're more involved in the good things that they enjoy, which might well be sitting in front of a client, going out and meeting somebody, networking events, things that they find easy for them to do. Absolutely spot on. And I wonder how many power planners do sit in the role of power planning though, and really do actually want to be a financial planner, but are in firms where the financial planner wants to keep them in the power planner role and not actually nurture the desire or ambition that they have to be an advisor. Do you come across that often?
Come across that. I also come from the other side, which is a power planner's at a firm where the firm's saying, you're going to become an advisor. And they're going, am I? It's what happened with me. I was in the industry for about a decade, employed as it for about a decade, and been in paraplanning, a traditional paraplanner role, a more modern hybrid paraplanner role. And then, as you said, for part of my time was managing a team, becoming head of sort of the training and stuff like that. I was always told you should be an advisor. Sam, you can communicate well, you know your stuff, you're chartered, I'm quite, myself personally, quite outgoing, I get my energy from other people. So you should be an advisor. And it never really connected with me. Just something never clicked. And that's what, until I was chatting to my advisor at my old firm and said, if it's for the money, don't. I went, so let's talk about that. And he went, Sam, imagine coming into work every single day. You've worked really hard all year. You've put all of your effort into coming up with some great financial plans. After a year, you've done some great planning for a client. They come in and they're unhappy with you because of investment returns. How will you cope with that? How will you feel about knowing you're working harder than ever to do some great financial planning, to not be thanked, or people to be unhappy with you because it's something out of your control? And that's where it clicked me, going, that doesn't, I don't think, for me personally, I'd rather get the recognition of people I see day in, day out, my team members, developing them, rather than my clients that potentially might be unhappy with me about external factors. So that for me is the big thing that I came across, is firms can say, yes, you can hold them in a power planning role because that's what suits them. But on the vice versa, you might be a power planner, feel like you should do more when actually you don't want to. And that's where a lot of them, as I've mentioned with the example of one of my clients, which is that person doesn't need to step up to be an advisor. They can be a power planner. They can still add value. They can add all the value you want an advisor to bring, but there's far less risk because they know the systems, they know the clients, they've worked with you for years. If you're an advisor and it's your baby, you've built up a business, because it is a business, but it's surrounded by people you've known for years.
Yeah.
What do you want as a business owner, Sam? You want someone that, if someone doesn't know the answer, they'll go, Sam, I don't know the answer. Now, if it's a power planner for 10 plus years that's been there, they're more like, you've got more confidence that they'll tell you, I don't know the answer to this, rather than the new advisor that you don't know that's trying to make an impression. That's where things can go wrong. And that's where, by promoting within and growing your own, I've personally seen as a far better method, I think, to job progression and ultimately longevity in the financial planning system.
Couple of things to unpack there. The bit about like the rejection side. So for you, right, you're great at your job, great at power planning, love doing it, love working with stakeholders in the business, love working and training those around you, and seeing, I suppose, the fruits of your labor, because it's pretty black and white what you would do as a power planner. Yeah, there are some things that might piss you off, or, you know, time scales, product providers not sending you things, people not doing the work properly, but you are in control of that. You can influence that and you can change that. But the idea of going out and doing a really good job for somebody, but that person actually being unhappy with you, you found that to be quite uncomfortable. That wasn't an aspect of the job that you felt that you would want to put yourself into. And yeah, being a financial planner, being anybody who's selling or going out and building relationships or doing something for something else, sometimes it can be a really thankless task. You know, it really, really can. And I suppose you get a sense of achievement in what you were doing, and you didn't want to let go of that at the mercy of what somebody else thinks. Someone might call you sensitive, but it's not. It's just that you know yourself. You know who you are. You know how you get your internal rewards. You know what motivates you, and that doesn't. And that's absolutely okay. And that's what people need to understand in power planning roles, right? It's like, you know, it's a career within its own right. You don't have to move on. You can definitely explore it. And what I love about what you just said there is that you did explore it. You did look into it, and you didn't just see it as that's the way you have to go, and you didn't give into the peer pressure of becoming an advisor. You stuck to your guns, looked at what your skill set was, and remained within the power planner role. Yeah, and that's quite a nice thing. Do you get a lot of that in the Paraplanner Club, like with helping, you know, for people that don't know what the Paraplanner Club is, give us tell us what that is in a minute. But do you get that in the Paraplanner Club, where people like are feeling a bit under pressure, or even the other way around, like I want to step up into an advice role, how do I approach my manager? Can you tell us a little bit about the Paraplanner Club and a little bit about how you guys support each other?
I'd love to. So I got involved in the Paraplanner Club is a mentoring scheme run by Paraplanners for Paraplanners. So it's set up by Sean Davis Cole and Chloe Phillips, and they set it up 2 or 3 years ago. And what they looked at is if you're a power planner, what does good look like? Because you get a room full of power planners, you ask all of them what they do each day, what value do they add. You might have some general themes, but you probably get some quite different answers. Some people it is report writing. Some people it is being in every meeting, fielding every query, and everything in between. So the whole idea on the Paraplanner Club is, if you're a power planner, not knowing what does good look like, or just what's my next step? Is it qualifications? Is it a different job route? Is it what can I do better? What does good look like? Because if I'm at a firm, 10 people in the firm, there's 2 power planners, actually you can sort of get stuck in your lane. This is what the job is. This is what I add to the clients. And actually they don't think of other ideas that other firms are doing out there. And that's what the whole community is there for. So I got involved with the Paraplanner Club last year when I left. So I left employment just over 18 months ago to become that managing director of the Patterson Group. And when I left, I said I wanted to go into team management because I like developing people. Now I've left that to go into a role where I work a lot with businesses in terms of CI exams, a lot of consultancy work, which is really, it's all personal, but to a limit. I'm a consultant. I'm not there full time. I only have a limited recognition. And again, for me, something I appreciated, I liked, was that I want to see the fruits of my labor. I want to grow with someone. I want to help them develop. But I'm moving into a job role and taking on an opportunity and taking a risk. But I knew that was never going to be associated with that. So that's why I became involved as a mentor, just going, Sean, Chloe, I'd love to get involved with your scheme. I'd love to get involved. I'm fully on board with it. Can I come on as a mentor? Loved it. And it was at the start of this year, I was asked to become a director and head of mentoring to really help drive that community forward. Because I saw a stat the other day, there's about 8,000 paraplanners around the country. There's not much recognition of them. Outside of the industry, there's really limited recognition of them. So it's how do we support each other? How do we drive ourselves forward? Because whatever the risks of people perceive with AI, I think paraplanning is here to stay, and the value paraplanners can add is only going to become more valuable in the future.
Few more things to unpack there. You're saying some good stuff here. You know, when you mentioned, what I loved is that your last role before you left to join the Patterson Group, which is you managing director of, and you're now a consultant, okay, was that you were a paraplanning manager. And that must have been tough for you to move from that job to do something where it's like putting you into a role where you're almost telling people what to do. You kind of dig in and you're being quite direct because your time is money and you're there to make improvements for them. And it's weird because like when you manage somebody, you do mentor, you do train them, you do encourage them, you are on the journey with them, and there is something within that is quite fulfilling. But there is also something when you become a consultant, you just go in and you just tell people what to do, and actually because you know what you're talking about, you can. And like, I'm a consultant, I enjoy being a consultant. I don't enjoy being a manager. I enjoy telling somebody what to do and do it better and how they should do it. And here's an example. And this is what Dave around the corner did. And look how much money Dave's now making. If you did this and did this and did this, that would be you. And by the way, it's going to cost you this much money. Like, to me, that excites me. I enjoy that. I enjoy helping multiple businesses because what I get from it is learning how those multiple businesses operate. And then I can teach another business how to do it better. I might even be able to go into, and I'm thinking of it seriously, running my own financial advice business because I got such a good insight into good, the bad, and the ugly out there. And you've had that, and that's really great. But you had it from a learned experience of being in there as well. But being in a position where you had to give up what you actually were truly passionate to do that must have been quite tough. So Paraplanner Club definitely fills a hole for you, doesn't it? It does give you that. Because I love mentoring people. There's 2 or 3 people that I actually mentor for free in my spare time. And one of the chaps has been on a journey with his own personal life, mental health, and addiction. And I've seen him from the day I met him to where he is now in 3 years. The change in him has been phenomenal. And I see it more than he sees it. And I have to keep reminding him of the change that I've seen in him. And he always wants more because he's rebuilding his mental health. He's rebuilding his life. And that is so rewarding. And I think like when you are a consultant, it's yin and yang, right? You need balance. You need to be able to go in and confidently tell someone what to do. And sometimes you're not compassionate in those situations because you can't be, because you're trying to save them money and stop their business from going under, or you're trying to make them money. You're trying to cut through the bullshit they've created in their head around what they think their business is when actually it's not. Whereas like mentoring is compassion. You know, it is guidance, it is being helpful, it is, and you can bring a bit of that obviously into being a consultant as well. I'm not a complete beast and you're not a complete beast, but we allow that to come in. But it's a different type of nurturing relationship. Something's a bit more longer, the other one's a bit shorter, and you have to kind of condense it in and package it up, which comes with learning and being in the job in that skill set. So that's really, really good to know and really good to hear. So if any paraplanners are listening to this right now, or is it just paraplanners, or can it be people that are interested in becoming a paraplanner, training towards it, administrators, who can come into the Paraplanner Club?
Paraplanner Club currently has everything from, well, I had a mentee the other day, and she called me from an A&E. She's a nurse on her brig. So I've had a nurse looking, I'm working 12-hour shifts as a nurse. I'm looking for a long-term career. Can I have a chat with someone? Is financial planning for me? What does a paraplanner do? What do the exams look like? How do you get a job? How do you add value? What does your day look like? For everything from that to someone that's based down south, paraplanner, been paraplanner for longer than I've been alive and is earning 85 grand. And they're going, okay, so I think I do what I do really well, but I don't know what I don't know. So can you try and, what ideas have you done in the past? What have you heard of? How can I add value? How do I ask for a pay rise? So it's everything, which is excellent. As I said, it's myself, Chloe, and Sean are the directors of the Paraplanner Club. Chloe was a paraplanner, is now an advisor. Sean was a paraplanner, now owns an outsourced paraplanning business. And I was an in-house paraplanner / manager, and now I consult and help with CI exams. So in terms of financial planning in any job role, pretty much got it covered. We've got 26 mentors that hold every position you can imagine. They're all there because they enjoy giving back, different exam bodies, different roles, different experiences. So does a mentor work for you? If it doesn't work, well, let's try a different mentor. It's not the scheme that's wrong. Maybe we just packaged you up wrong. So it's really for anyone looking for what does good look like. And actually, it's really exciting. We're talking to try and bring this more of a community online, to more of a forum of paraplanners, which I'm sure we'll be able to announce slightly later in the next coming weeks. But we are really looking to enhance this paraplanning role because it's changed so much.
Yeah.
I go to the pub with my mates and they go, what do you do? And I go, I used to be paraplanner. And they go, what's a paraplanner? And the only way I can explain is, have you watched Suits? Meghan Markle, she was a paralegal. She's behind the scenes doing the strategies. That's what a paraplanner does to financial planning. But the lack of recognition outside of the industry is something that I speak a lot about with paraplanners. And how actually do you improve that recognition, both for paraplanners and employers?
I think it's really important that people understand what a paraplanner is, but I'll tell you the reasons why, because I get approached a lot by people who say they want to be financial planners or be financial advisors. And when they explain the reasons why, what they're actually explaining is paraplanner job. You know, and like when I quickly identify, I'm like, how you're talking to me, what you're telling me you're passionate about, what you're telling me that interests you is all analytical. It's all research. It's all like looking at strategy. It's like, that's part of a financial advisor's job. But actually, you would be way more suited to paraplanner. Because if I told you you had to go and go to a networking event, if I told you you had to get on the telephone, make a load of calls, phone up some clients, if I told you about rejection, how would you cope with all that? And have you got any experience of doing any of that? And often they're like, oh no. And I was like, well, if I told you this job role of a paraplanner, how would that make you feel? They're like, well, I'd be interested in that. So, well, you need to be a paraplanner then. And that was key to me. Like when I set up the Financial Planner Life Academy, it was that it's not about being a financial advisor and that's it. I don't want to be another academy that's just training up financial advisors. I want to bring people in who can make a decision as to what they think they should, how they should join the profession and what route would be best for them. So we wanted to give them career education, wanted to slow the process down a little bit and show them the different sides of working in the profession, because there's more job roles than just financial advice. And I think that's contributed to the lack of people coming into the profession. So the different roles we need to shout about, a bit like I do on the podcast, because it's very, very important that people understand the ins and outs of those positions. Very, very interesting then. That's good. Yeah, Sian Davies-Cole's been on the podcast years ago, actually. She's from local to me. So I need to meet up with her. And I think it's a really, really, really good thing. One of the things that I've noticed, and the thing is as well, like if there's 8,000 to 9,000 paraplanners out there, different firms have different culture, have different values, have different systems, have so many differences. So it's not like you're just, I'm a paraplanner, so I can sidestep into that firm and it's an easy switch. There's like different firms are IFA or restricted, and some use tech, some don't use tech. And it's like, you don't know really what your firm you're in is like until you open your ears and eyes and speak to other paraplanners. And then you start to go like, oh, this is doing my brain in like, and I suppose like there's usually one or two paraplanners sometimes in firms, right? In the bigger firms, there's more. So there isn't a chance for you to bounce ideas off of other paraplanners. So stepping outside of your business and going into a community where you can learn from others is vital, because then you can come back into your financial planning business. You can then influence the business owners to make some changes, do something different. And then you're upskilling yourself, and then you're showing more value to the business because perhaps you're saving money or making more money for the company. Would you agree?
Absolutely. So I'm part of what I do now is the CI exam specialist. Part of my role now is we create industry-leading audio material. So ROs, AFs, we allowing people to really revise on the go when it suits them. So part of what I do is produce audio material, helped over 66,000 people over the 28 years the business has been going. And then someone goes, okay, so to get a pay rise, to be competent, do I need to get some qualifications? And I go, in my opinion, no, it's not just down to that. And everyone goes, hang on, Sam, you're saying you're a training provider, you help people pass exams, but you're saying it's not the be all and end all for developing your career. And you go, bang on. That's exactly what it is. I think the main, and that's what I try to get across with the Paraplanner Club is, I've had a past conversation, which is how can I ask I'm not happy with my pay, but I don't want to change roles. So how can I have this conversation with my employer to try and get a pay rise? Yeah, okay, so let's talk about that. I think, why do you get a pay rise? Pay should reflect the value you add to that business. So exams come into it because if you're spending 4 hours an evening revising through exams, improving your technical knowledge, that will ultimately result in better work performance, which will benefit the business, which will benefit the shareholders. So therefore, exams, they do have a slight impact, but so does going to the Paraplanner Club. You're going out of your way, you're giving up your free time, where you could be watching The Crown on Netflix or selling Sunset like my wife is at the moment. You could be sat on your sofa, but actually you're not. You're sat with someone else trying to get their brain, which is a sponge, and really milking it out. How can you get this knowledge and add value? What new ideas can you bring to the table? What different planning angles? How can you support your clients better? And if you're doing all these things and going out and trying to get more knowledge, that's where pay rises come from. I think, and this is quite typical of paraplanners. A few weeks ago, I wrote an article all about imposter syndrome. Now, I'm sure a lot of people go, yes, and I suffer from imposter syndrome. And I think there's not a paraplanner I've ever met that has not felt from time to time they're not good enough, that they don't belong, they're waiting to be found out.
Yeah.
And then you sort of talk about, and that's really resonated with people. And they go, that's put to me going, Sam, have you not got that? You've been a consultant now for 18 months and you're going up to business owners who've been there for 40 years and telling them they can do better. And they go, yes. They go, why? And you go, because I'm being hired to solve problems I was doing day in, day out 18 months ago. Who else in the industry can say they were doing that job 18 months ago, speaking to clients, as in 60 meetings a year 18 months ago? And now I'm in a position where I can spread that wealth of knowledge around. But I think that's a big thing for paraplanners, is trying to get over that imposter syndrome. How can you work on that? And that's something I do quite a lot of with the Paraplanner Club.
Do you think paraplanners are scared perhaps of confrontation, worried about the repercussions of trying to solve a problem for a business, almost like they feel that's above their station when actually their job is problem? You're absolutely spot on. I loved what you said there. You were a problem solver anyway within those businesses. You're now a consultant and you're only doing what you were doing anyway in the role of paraplanner. So it's a confidence issue. It's like, what's my identity? What is a paraplanner and what problems am I solving? Not only just for the clients, but it's actually for the business. So actually a paraplanner is a process improver, a business improvement specialist. They see the business from a completely different angle. So maybe they need to fill their cup of self-worth up a little bit and start to recognize the strength and the value that they actually have. It comes back to, like, I know paraplanners that have moved around multiple companies. Some of the best paraplanners I know are the ones that have got multiple experience in different companies. And some of the ones that are the most unhappiest are the ones that have stayed in a company and not challenged status quo and have been unhappy and not stepped outside of the box. I love the way that the Paraplanner Club creates that safe space, not only to kind of air those worries and concerns, because we develop them, don't we? And we tell ourselves a story and we start to believe it. And when you actually go and you share that story, the other one says, I felt like that before. And now I feel this way. And by the way, Sam's going to do some training on this, and this. And it's going to help you develop as a person. It's going to help you develop your career. And I think often when people are in paraplanner roles, they do, and sometimes this is the case, getting a pay rise, you have to leave, right? But often they think about that as being the first thing they have to do, not how they can influence the business to generate a pay rise. That they are a valuable asset. 8,000 in the UK. They're a valuable asset. So what can they do, Sam, to empower themselves to be able to influence a pay rise internally before looking outside of the business if that doesn't work?
That is the question that I get asked all the time. And there's something that you mentioned earlier, which is I'm doing the job. My role is to add value. As a consultant, I'm in the Paraplanner Club, and if I don't add value, well, I don't need someone doesn't need me. So I've always got to try and add value. So when I speak to Paraplanners about how can you ask for a pay rise, you go, okay, how do you think you get a pay rise? And they go, I need to do my job better. Okay, so does the best person always get the pay rise or the promotion? And they go, no. And you go, so maybe it's not just performance. And I introduced them to the concept of PI, which is something I used a lot. Again, this is not things I've learned over time, but I put it into practice. I've tried and tested. PI is performance, image, and exposure. So you go, why does someone get a pay rise or a promotion? Oh, it's your performance. And you go, oh, actually, I'm not sure it is. I think it's more about image. Image is, if someone says Sam Oakes, what is the picture that forms their mind? What do they immediately think when they hear Sam Oakes?
Handsome.
Handsome, I could say the same myself. And the second one is exposure. So actually, a lot of people obviously think you're handsome because you've got lots of watchers on your podcast. But primarily, pay rise and promotion is down to those three things. Mainly image. So what do people think Sam can do? How many people think Sam can do it? And actually, the least important is actually what Sam does. And it's speaking to Paraplanners like, okay, so you want a pay rise. How often do you go to the office? You go, oh, not many. Okay, so how are you improving your image? What strategies are you doing to improve your image? How are you starting your, how are you improving your exposure? So, and then it's, okay, so what's the next part? Let's take that knowledge, PI, performance and exposure. That's the bedrock to a promotion or a pay rise. Let's give you some practical applications of how to put that into place. So that's just off the top of my head, but a way that I've always found excellent is say to Paraplanners, what's your niche? What do you want to be known for? Because in my experience, it's the easiest way to get a pay rise or promotion. Why? Well, for me personally, it was vulnerable clients. I was doing all my exams. We locked down. A member of my team came to me at the time, getting used to working at home, and said, Sam, one of my clients has called me up 3 times over the past 2 weeks, and he's asked for the same withdrawal for the same university cost for his grandchild. What do we do? And at the time, that company only had an extra care policy, how you service vulnerable clients if they're over 80. So, James, how old's that client? He went, he's 74. You go, this doesn't fit into our firm's process here. So how do we make that better? So I went out of my way. I did lots of reading, lots of research, webinars, every bit of knowledge on vulnerable clients I tried to soak up. That was my thing. So when we went back to office, I put in place the policy. I did all of the training. I then had not only paraplanners or client managers at my old firm, but also the advisors coming up to me going, Sam, I've got this case, can I run it past you? And suddenly I went from and I had imaging, I was from the team leaders and managing a lot of people, but suddenly it was elevated to Sam is the guy that deals with vulnerable clients. And that's what I say to paraplanners out there is if you're looking for a pay rise or a promotion, there's no point you're my boss saying, Sam, I'm one of your paraplanners. I'd like a promotion, please. What does that look like to you? And you go, quite rightly as a manager, will go, what does that look like for you, Sam? So it's weird saying Sam and Sam, isn't it? But what does that look like to me? And that's the big thing is don't go with a problem to your manager. Go with the solution. Sam, I would like a pay rise because over the last 18 months, I've worked my absolute behind off. I am now the go-to person in this business for vulnerable clients. I am adding so much value. I mean, adding so much change to this business. That's why I deserve a pay rise. And it's talking through paraplanners. I think you mentioned earlier, scared. I'm not sure whether it is scared. I think it's an uncertainty about what path can they go. They're looking at a map and they can't see the path they want to go down.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm there to do is help them forge their own little path. Because it's really hard to give a generic answer. Every firm's different. But when you speak to these individuals, learn the culture of their firm and come up with a plan to really help empower that paraplanner.
I think as well, the problem you have with this in paraplanning is that paraplanning is the generic job title. And we all know that there are different levels of paraplanner. We know that. We see them. I speak to paraplanners, you speak to paraplanners all the time. But when you're one paraplanner in a job role, you're a paraplanner. You don't quite know what your level of experience is up against other paraplanners, and therefore you do not know what your worth is. So you don't have a confidence in your commodity, which is yourself. You know, you don't have a confidence in yourself. You don't know how to pitch yourself because you've got nothing to pitch it against. So it's like, you know, if you broke the role of a paraplanner down into 5 different job roles, 6 different job roles, you know, you could do that. You really could do that. The profession as a whole could do that. And it will kind of help paraplanners recognize where they are in their career. And I kind of advise firms to say, look, what's your career framework for a paraplanner? You know, have you got a senior paraplanner? Yeah, right. Okay. Have you got somebody who's maybe at the beginning of their journey? Yeah. Do you call them paraplanners? Yeah. I said, well, what's the benefit of that? You know, like, let's work out exactly what the career framework is for someone to go from, say, 30K as as a brand new paraplanner, probably a senior administrator, maybe actually, you know, and what do they got to do to get to the level of one of the highest paid paraplanners I've ever come across is, well, you've told me actually, what was it? 85K?
Yeah, £85,000.
Sorry, I trump that. We were doing some work yesterday with a company called Irwin Mitchell, and they have come across a paraplanner on 90K. That's mad, isn't it? So what's the difference? Why is somebody on 90K? And I'll tell you the reason for that is because this person had clinical negligence and PI experience pre and post court. So it goes back to what you said about developing a niche and a skill set. But you can break the role of a paraplanner down into multiple different roles. And I think if firms do that, they'll have better talent attraction and better retention, because then you can start to set goals and you can work with the individual paraplanner and have milestones that they can achieve, and then you can ratchet their salaries based on their level of experience, whether there's a qualification or a level of experience that runs alongside it. That would be the perfect world. Firms aren't quite there yet, but what you're saying is, look, take it upon yourself to actually develop that. Take it upon yourself to collect evidence and take it upon yourself to upskill yourself. If you can't do it yourself right now in the environment that you're actually in, go and join a Paraplanner Club and get some insider knowledge. Start reading some good content. Start following some paraplanners that are educating you on the better processes that can be done. And then start influencing the business owners and making a note of the improvements that you're actually constantly doing. Because one of those things anyway, we used to call it a brag file. Where's your brag file? What have you got? When you go to interview, take your brag file with you, because it's all about bragging about the things that you have done that have added value and why they've added value, most importantly. How you identified it, what it is, and how it added value. Did it save money? Did it decrease time? Did it free up somebody from a job role to do something else? There are all these things that you can start adding into that process. So when when you're in your mindset, you've got to be thinking, I want to prepare myself for the day that I sit down to renegotiate my salary. As a business owner, if someone comes to me and says, Sam, I want a pay increase, I say, why? And if they can't evidence why and the value that they add, why should I give them a pay rise?
I think that's...
When someone comes to me and evidence, do you know how hard it is to turn down a pay rise for somebody when they've got solid evidence? It's nigh on impossible. Now, when someone has the courage and the confidence, I think it's not scared, it's confidence, but also they've framed it in the right way and they've structured it in the right way. Once they've got that and they deliver it, do you know what they also have? They have peace of mind that they have evidenced, shown somebody, asked for a pay rise, and if it's knocked back, then they can look elsewhere. Because once they take that brag file with them elsewhere and they can easily articulate where they are in their journey and what they've done, then they can start to demand and command salaries reflective of what the market is looking for, especially if they talk to someone like me who understands what the market looks like. Because someone comes to me and say, Sam, I've been doing this, I've been doing this, I've been doing this, I've been doing this. And I'll say, that's like a 45K a year salary. what are you on? Well, I'm on a senior administrator salary of 29,000. And it's like, why? Right, you're actually a paraplanner, not a senior administrator.
Yeah.
So let's get that sorted first of all. And your salary is going to go up by about 10, 12 grand. And there is a demand for it. And all of a sudden someone's like, wow. Now that person can then actually take that market research, maybe do it before they go to an interview and just say, look, and I've also looked at the market, and based upon the skill set that I've got and the experience that I've got, I actually command a salary of like 42K. And people are like, oh, have you got market research? Have you? You'd be like, yeah, I got the Recruit UK salary guide and I can see it here. And I've all spoken to a few people. And again, it's very difficult for somebody who wants to keep somebody that's shown their value and their worth. They want to keep them. They don't want to lose them. You know, you're not trying to put the fear into these people, especially if they're good managers and whatnot. You just want to share and confidently say, this is what my value is and this is what the value I've added to the business. Now, saving a business money, improving processes. Have you got any tips for somebody right now? Some of the things they actually can do right now in the role of a paraplanner, things they should be looking at that can instantly add value to a business to maybe save them money, improve time and processes?
I think if you're a business owner now, we're in the people business. Yes, we both work in financial planning, but it's a people business.
Yep.
So if I was a owner of a business now and thought, how can I look to make efficiencies? How can I improve the profitability? I would look at my team of paraplanners and go, who are my rock stars and who are my superstars? So my rock stars, they are what you would probably refer to as career paraplanners. They hold the base level. They show you what goods look like. They are probably have the niche areas. They know what good looks like. But that's what they are. They are a rock of the team. They don't want to move on to a bigger role. They're happy as a paraplanner. They've got their career and they're very happy with it. But I bet you've got some superstars. The superstars, people in a paraplanning role, but they don't want to be a paraplanner. They are looking for the next idea. They're trying to add value to people. They are trying to come into the networking events, flying through the exams. They are going somewhere. Now, if you're an employer, you need your rock stars because you can't have everyone firing off everywhere all the time, but you also need your superstars because they're the ones that propel the business forward.
Yeah.
So if I was a business owner and I've got my rock stars, but actually I've got Sam Oakes and he is my superstar paraplanner. He is going somewhere. He is handsome. He's got all his exams.
Got a podcast.
He's got a podcast. He's going somewhere. So how can I keep hold of him? Because at the moment, he's a paraplanner. Really easy tip. Say I'm the advisor and you've wrote my report saying Sam Patterson has done this, advised by Sam Patterson. I've signed it. The report was authored by Sam Oakes. You can reach Sam for any queries on this number. I'm turning around and saying, Sam, you're going somewhere. I'm your manager. I'm your boss. I know you're going somewhere. Let's try and move your skills on in a safe way. So you're not going to get overwhelmed. There's not too much risk for me. But if you write a report for me as a paraplanner, you can answer, are you comfortable answering any questions on it of the client? You wrote it, you know it. Can the client get in contact with you? Maybe it's not a phone, maybe it's an email, but are you comfortable becoming that point of contact for that client? Yeah, love that, please. And you go, so now I'm someone like you, you're a superstar. You're looking for the next thing. You're about to get on the phone to actually you going, Sam, I'm feeling held down by this role. What's next? But as an employer, I've spotted that and I've put in a progression plan just for you. What's that good for me as an employer? Because, well, I'm getting you doing things that otherwise I would have to do or one of my advisors would have to do. That's where you're saving money instantly, whilst also giving you the superstar chance to grow, chance to add your value, bring new ideas. You're showing everyone else that's perhaps not at that level yet going, there is progression here because look at Sam. Look at that culture and growing within and promoting and progression. Like he tried his best. He's added loads of value. It's being recognised. Why would I not want to stay here? And it's that adding that thing.
That is a perfect example of managing ambition. Some people are so scared of people who've got ambition. And like, if someone's got big, I see them in my business, like, Elena, fantastic example, full to the brim of ambition, wants to push forward. Now she'll push forward somewhere else. I don't want her to push forward somewhere else. So what did I do? Put an arm around her and say, guess what? You're my co-host of the Financial Planner Life podcast. My God, did she love that? at first she was like, oh my God, really, oh my God. She absolutely loved it. Because if her ambition gets to the point where I'm stifling it and there's nothing there for her to do and I'm pushing her down into, because, you too much. Where's she going to go? She's going to go somewhere else. So I want to nurture that ambition. I want to manage it. I want to coach it. I want to bring her along. I want to give her the freedom that she needs and the learning experiences that she needs. And guess what? Some people say like, yeah, but if I do that, then Elena's going to spend less time on the telephone and not make any money. Do you know what's happened? She's now my number one recruiter. She's my number one recruiter in there. And she adds value in my academy. She goes up on stage at the CISI event with me. She's on my podcast interviewing people. She's mentoring and training people, and she's my number one on the sales board. Now, if I'd have not nurtured her, she'd never have done that. And that to me is a prime example of what you just said there about superstars. Yeah, I love it.
Without having a message off Elena saying, Sam, I can't believe you said that, because I've never met her, so I might. But you can't. But you also can't have a team full of Elenas. You can't have a team of superstars.
Yeah.
So that's why I called them. You have the superstars, but you have your rock stars.
Yeah.
And your job, if you're an employer, and I'm sure it's gone in your head, going, they're the people that hold. They're the people that hold. They're the base of my team. They're the rocks. If someone's got a question, they'll go to that person, and they're just as valuable. It's just a different skill set, and that's where I speak to employees.
Let's talk about that, because what do you do to nurture a rock star?
Big thing with a rock star for me is you talk and go, if you're a rock star, you go, Sam, what do you want to do? Sitting down with them and going, look, you are my rock. You hold the values. What do you want from me? Let's have a conversation. I want to keep you. If you're not desperate for different career paths and different new opportunities, because that's just not what you want. And I say a rock star, because you're a rock star, it doesn't mean never, it's just a not now. So at the moment, I'm going, right, what's next? Personally, what's next? Where can I go? I'm going to set my own business. I'm managing a team of 6 current CI authors. I'm doing audio material, I'm doing consulting, I'm doing mentoring. Because right now, in my period of my life, I can. In a couple of years' time, my life might be very different. I might not want to put all this time into work. I might want to take it easy for a couple of months. I might have gone through some mental health problems. I might have had a child. There's lots of different things. So because you're a rock star, it doesn't mean a never, it's just a not now.
Yeah.
But it's speaking to them going, look, how can I make you feel valued? And if they go, I'm looking for a new job title. Okay, so what job title would you like? If it's not a different career path, is it a title? Is it money? And when you say money, especially it's the money word, or it's a taboo subject. And I would encourage to have that conversation, especially with those rock stars, because they need to feel valued. I cannot understate how important they are to a team. So you need to make them feel valued. Because if you are a rock star and you're seeing the young, the superstar, the Elena, seeing all these opportunities, and I'm sat there going, so I've worked my arse off for you for 5 years. I don't want all these opportunities, but I do a great job. I need to feel valued. And it's speaking, going, what does that value look like for you as an individual?
Yeah, really, really good example, Sam. I can see why you're a consultant. Honestly, really, I'm learning a lot myself here, and it's allowing me to reflect upon my own business. And I think sometimes as a business owner, you think about the superstars because they're going above and beyond. And superstars are often very ambitious people. They are also very what's the word? Like, they'll do what they want, right?
Gung-ho, aren't they?
Gung-ho, man. They'll do what they want. So you have to kind of like manage a gung-ho person. It's tricky as a manager. If you've got to go with it, not against it, right? You've got to go with it, not against it. With a rock star, they don't have that personality that person has. Maybe they're a bit more introverted. Maybe they're more focused on a task, whereas the person who's a superstar needs multiple things to do because they get bored easily. That kind of thing. So I think when you have the introvert, extrovert, and you look at them that way, you can kind of call one a rock star. You could call one a superstar. That's one way to look at it, I suppose. I don't want to put people into boxes because a rock star is as cool as a superstar. You know, and I love that analogy. A rock star is as cool as a superstar, man.
Yeah.
You know, they're just different people. And I love the way that looking after those rock stars is important. And I think when I think about a rock star, and I think I'm looking out my window now, looking at them, and how I manage those people is because I put an arm around them. And I just sort of just say how valuable they are, how much I really value them. And I've got rock stars at the top of my table who've been here for me for years and earning good money. If I don't touch base with them, how do they feel valued? Because they're not standing up and shouting and asking for validation. They're not seeking validation. Superstars often seek validation. I do. I seek validation. It's how I am. I like to know if I'm doing a good job. You know, I love feedback like that. Rock stars do as well, but they won't ask for it. They won't seek it. They'll do it through the work that they do. And I think you have to put an arm around them. You have to value them as a person and the work that they actually have to do. You have to kind of show a bit more interest in them and tell them that they're doing a great job, because they're not going to seek it, but they still feel the same way. It's just a different way that we promote it, isn't it?
I'm thinking, I'm not going to say the name, but it's when I managed at my old firm, and he was my rock star. I'm not going to say his name because he'll hate me saying it. But I remember saying if someone trains someone up new, what does good look like? It's that person there. Just look at them, do what they do, look at their reports, look at their meeting prep, look at the way they interact with advisors, look at the way they push back on advisors. They are the standards you need to meet. I remember speaking to him, so I don't think about use his name, this person, you're really valuable to me and my team. What can I do to keep you happy? What do you want me to do? What can I do for you? I'm your manager. Now, managing is an interesting, we'll come on to that, I'm sure. It's an interesting one, but what can I do for you? I see my role as making sure you're okay. And he went, is it money? And he went, no. I'm earning good money, had his plan for future, so it wasn't money. And the only thing he said was, if I'm struggling, help me. But he said, I'm not going to come to you for help. I need you to pick up on the skill. And that's everything that I would do anyway, but it's good to get it out of them. Just cover off next review. Is that all you still want from me? Oh, actually, I'm wanting to do this. So actually, I'm after this money. And I'm glad you've told me that's not realistic. And this isn't an awkward conversation. It's not there yet, but if you do this, this, and this, and I know you don't want it, but if you want that money, this is what entails with it. And you're having that open conversation.
But that's what makes a good manager, right? You have to understand that each individual within your business is different. And you have to understand that everybody likes to be praised for doing a good job. And everybody wants to avoid pain and not lose their job or feel discomfort. And each person tends to like a reward in some capacity. That's how we're programmed as human beings. Avoid pain, seek pleasure, right? Reward. And we're all very different, and we all display it in a different way. And a manager could be somebody who's constantly looking for approval. So you might be looking at your team thinking, why aren't they praising me for all the great work that I'm doing? Or why aren't they telling me that they're stuck? Or why aren't they telling me they need help when I really want to help them because I'm overly helpful as a person? And it's like, well, you don't need to with that person, right? But what you might want to do is once a week check in with them. And you might want to find out how best that they like feedback and what do they do in situations and circumstances when they're feeling uncomfortable. Could they give you an example of something that they could, have they got an example of something that could make an improvement to the business this week? And I think when you ask those questions and you do it in a way that's open and it gets the information out of them, you're going to get a deeper relationship with that person because you value them and you've taken time to understand how they work. Often in the past, because of who I am, I've led with authority. It's this way, do it my way, because this is how it works. More often because I need control, and if people aren't doing it my way, then obviously it's not the right way. It took me a long time to learn that everybody's cut from a different cloth and has a different way of thinking. We're not the same. They're not androids, Sam. They're not your commodity and you can control them to get them to do what they want. If you want to get them to do what you want, which is to achieve better, improved processes, earn more money, then you need to get to know who they are and how they work. So let's look at that. You were a manager within Paraplanning. So anybody that's aspiring to be a manager, anybody that is a manager, how can they get and also business owners here, right? How can we get the best out of our teams?
So I loved being a team manager. It was when I decided didn't want to be an advisor, I knew it was people management and I loved it. And when I first became a manager, my boss at the time, who I learned so much, she sat me down and she went, things are going to change. Even if you don't change, things will change. And I went, nah, give over. Like, I'm very friendly. I got on well with everyone in my team. I'd been in the team. So I'm just now managing them. But I see that as me serving them, not them serving me as a manager. So things aren't going to change. Things change. I'm not just Sam, the guy that anyone needs to work with me, some bad cheese jokes and has a bit of a laugh with you. I am now Sam, the guy that does that. But you're also very aware that I'm Sam that sits down every year to talk about your pay, or every 6 months talk about your pay. I'm Sam that I've got to open up about my career aspirations. I've got to open up and being a manager, that change isn't talked about. People don't tell team leaders or managers enough. You will have to deal. This personally might be quite difficult at times, but you are losing your old group, your crowd. You'll develop a new crowd with the man but it's just to make people aware of that. In terms of how do I, as a piece of advice for a business owner, how do you get managers out enough? Support managers and tell them to be themselves. I have always come from I want to help people. That is something that I get a lot of value from, is I want to help people. So you go, and then that's put to speaking to a mentee about this, and they went, okay, so what happens if you've got to give someone feedback? You're one of my, in my team, you've dropped a bit of a clanger. You've missed some prep, haven't done a withdrawal, you've misplaced a check, whatever it is, there's a bit of a clanger. So how would you approach that? Because I want to help people. Okay, so I'll sit you down and go, Sam, it would be easier for me not to tell you this. It would be easier for me as a manager to turn my head and not tell you, not give you this feedback, because it might not be comfortable, but that's not fair for you because you're not going to learn it. And a manager, to be a good manager, you've got to position yourself on the side of your team. It's an interesting role because you're the mouthpiece for the business, but you're also the mouthpiece for the employees. You're the middle person servicing your team, but also servicing the board of directors or the senior manager. But the way I went about that is you've got to show that you care, and you've got to show that, as you say, the easiest thing is to not give bad feedback. But actually, that's not the fair thing to do. And it's not the good thing for the team, because if I don't give you the feedback, you're going to do it again. You might pass it on to someone else. But so it's positioning yourself. So when I sit down and go, Sam, the easiest thing to do is to not tell you this. If I've never built up that rapport with you, you'll go, oh no, what's coming now? So you've got to build up that rapport. Don't change, because people will see through it. Position yourself in a way that do what you say you'll do on the side of the tin. Build trust. What's trust? Well, you do what you'll do. You say you'll do what you say you'll do when you say you'll do it, and do it consistently. That's what trust is. To build up that trust from your team, you'll say you'll do something for them, you need to deliver it. Build that trust with your senior managers, the board of directors. I'm one of your middle management. I'll do what you ask me to do when I say I'll do it.
Yeah.
And build up that trust in each party. So when you have a position where you're either pushing something on the people below you or pushing back on something above you, they all know it's coming from the right place.
One of the things that, I hear what you're saying there, absolutely. And one of the things that I find works really well, and it's something that I learned when I was at Aviva, I used to manage a team, the classic shit sandwich. Deliver some good news. Get in there and tell them about some of the great things that they've just done, or some of the things you've seen that are doing really, really well. Even if they've dropped an absolute clanger. Chris, I absolutely loved what you did with that client a couple of days ago, and all of this kind of thing. Look, I've just realised or just recognised that you've dropped a bit of a clanger, actually, mate. And the clanger was this, you didn't pay that check-in. I'm now going to have to go through the process, and just to give you an idea of the extra timescales this is going to take on it and why this is a bit annoying. Can you tell me a little bit about what you can do about this so it doesn't happen again in the future? And then end it on something good. So it's like, but great, we've worked it out. These are things that we can now do next time. And these are the process improvements that we can do so we don't make this mistake again. So thanks very much for making that mistake. Now we recognize it. Let's not make it happen again. So it's kind of like a shit sandwich. You bring them up, give them some shit news, and then bring them back up again. And hopefully their dopamine levels and their serotonin levels are high enough to be able to take on board that, that's constructive, and it's a constructive criticism, it's a constructive feedback. And there are good things I'm doing, but they're also, I dropped a bollock and now I need to sort it out and I need to learn from it, but they respect me anyway. And I think that's a good way to do it. It does work. It's very traditional. It's classic, but the shit sandwich, it works every time for me.
I think if you're a manager, work on your emotional intelligence, because Chris, that example, well, I'm sure it's maybe not a real person, but the Chris example, he hasn't purposely messed up. And if he has, why have you hired him? Yeah. So he's not done it on purpose. You need to understand, actually, it's probably a reflection on myself as a manager. How's he made that mistake? How have I let him make that mistake? Or is it a process issue? Because if that's a process issue, then actually we need to look at a process. If it's Chris just having a mistake, well, is it just one of those things? Or there's something deeper going on? Chris, what's on your mind? This isn't you. Yeah. I know this isn't. Chris, you're excellent. This isn't you. What's going on? Actually, Sam, I'm going through a tough time at home. Okay. So I'm there as a manager going, I care about Chris. I'm his manager. But also I care about the business. He is a business risk at the moment. So what do we need to do now? Chris, Chris, I'll take that meeting. Anything you do now, run it past me and I'll check it for you. Because if you've made a mistake, what do you want? You want your manager to take care of you, knowing that, like my people in my team, you had to do it because I cared, but also because I care about me, I care about the business. If they mess up, it's reflecting on me. So I need to make sure it doesn't happen. And it's taking that responsibility. The easy thing is to go, Chris, you absolute muppet. Actually, that won't stop a business risk. That won't help the bottom line. That won't solve an issue. So it's how do you then, show that emotional intelligence to put yourself in Chris's shoes. He needs to know it wasn't okay if he's. And it's a different thing. If Chris has done something on purpose, there's not a second chance. If you're deliberately making mistakes, you're not part of my team.
No.
And because this is not a team. If it's a mistake, I've grown up playing rugby. It's why I've got lots of scars on my face. If I missed a tackle and a try went in, I'm not smashed to pieces. I go, lads, this guy's 6'8". I'm struggling here. I want two of my teammates just to come a bit closer and three of us tackle him. And that's how I see a team in the working. But I think work and professional can learn so much from sport. And that's all the ideas that I try to bring to either mentees or businesses I work with.
I think as well, what can we do as business owners? What can we do as managers to create a space where you are able to articulate when you aren't feeling great, or when perhaps you're under a bit of mental pressure or something in your personal life is affecting you? There is a safe space to be able to express it, but also that it isn't used as an excuse. What's your view around mental health, mental fitness within financial planning? Are you seeing let's look at the Paraplanner area first. We're making a whole episode about paraplanning at the moment. We're going to focus on Paraplanners. What's the mental health like in general across the Paraplanner community, and what part does their job and business or company play in how they're feeling?
A couple of things I think there to break it down. So it's hard to speak generically because everyone's very different, but I'll try to speak generic. The generic paraplanner pairs, they want to go above and beyond. If they have work to do, they will do it. It doesn't really matter about the timescales. They will work and work and work. The issue from a business perspective is I see it as I've drunk my water, but it's a glass empty. If every day I'm at work and you're pouring your water out, you then have to take care and develop strategies for every evening, every weekend to top that water back up. Because the next day at work, the stresses of work, you'll start tipping out. And if it's the odd few days, a week, and your water's running dry, I can go for the next hour or so without taking a sip of water, I'll be okay.
Yeah.
If I don't drink until 8 o'clock at night, I'll be suffering a bit, but I'll be okay. If I still haven't topped up my water and had a drink by 24 hours time, I'm stuffed.
Yeah.
So it's paraplanners have to prioritize. The best thing for the business is sometimes turning off your laptop because you've got to replenish yourself. I think from a employer's perspective, with mental health, you've got to be supportive, and that's where the good. I'm sure you'll know this better than I. The good employers stand out because the way that I put this to you, to Paraplanners listening, do you have the Sunday feeling? On a Sunday, do you have that feeling? Oh no, I'm at work tomorrow.
Dread.
That does not exist at every firm.
Yeah.
And the good firms make sure. So my old firm, I was there for over 6 years. I never had the Sunday feeling. It was an excellent firm to work. The good firms stand out. The good firms.
Why though? Why? Okay, so have you been on the other side of the fence where you have had the dread?
Yes.
Okay, so why did that firm? What are they doing, or what did they do that made you feel happy to be coming in on a Monday, not fearing it?
They treated me like a person, not as a paraplanner. They treated me as Sam. Sam is quite extroverted. Sam works too hard. He sometimes finds it hard to say no to things. Sam wear his heart on his sleeve. They treated me as Sam. They learned how to manage him. I was a superstar at my old business. I wanted to go somewhere. I thought it was an advisor route. It wasn't an advisor route. It was a team leader route. Okay, Sam, become a manager. Sam, do you want to make a niche for vulnerability? As long as it doesn't impact, freedom to do it. Sam, you want to do training, freedom to do it. They supported what I wanted to do. If I've got the Sunday feeling, for example, it's normally where someone feels you're a cog in the machine.
Yeah.
You're not the individual. You come in and you have to write X number of reports. And actually, that's what you need to do because that's what we're paying you to do. If you want to do something else, not on us. And it's that treated as an individual.
I think we as business owners or managers, once you become a business owner or a manager, I think you have to get the mirror out and you have to reflect upon yourself and start to identify areas of improvement.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden you're responsible for multiple personalities, right? Multiple different types of people. And if you don't know yourself and what triggers you to get angry or resentful or fearful or whatever it might well be, how are you supposed to help somebody else and have enough energy in your bucket to continue for the rest of the day? Because managers and business owners have to protect their mental health as much as the mental health of their employees. And like anybody, there's only a finite amount. I don't know about you, but like when you're on your own doing your job, like you get a bit annoyed and a bit frustrated and you have your own troubles and problems. Being a manager is completely different. And like some people develop mental health problems when they become a manager, as opposed to like when they're doing the job because they can't cope with the effect it has on their social instincts and how they're perceived by others within the business. Whereas before they might be seen as a superstar, and this happens a lot to superstars. It's like if you put a superstar into a manager role, it can often be really difficult for that person because they are quite central to how they think and they want to do what they want to do. And when people don't react the way that you want them to react, it impacts your social instincts and then what others think of you. And then you might act out with resentment and then start fearing what people think of you. And then you start to get worried and anxious and all of that. Mental health for me, mental fitness is what I call it. Mental fitness has to be a part of every business at every level. And you're not excluded because you're a manager. Oh, I got mental health problems that, I'll go and sort yourself out and come back. Well, no, it's like, we have a program, we have employee benefits, we have Mondays, everyone goes PT, so we try and create that. And I've gone through the lowest, darkest places in my life before. But have I shied away from telling people that? No, I've told everybody where I've been in the darkest places, how my mind works, where I went to. I'm on the board of trustees for a charity that's Talk Club Men's Mental Fitness. We've brought in counselling. I talk about counselling. When someone comes in, I can give them and signpost them to areas that will help them. I don't have to bear the weight of someone's mental health, but I can understand it and guide them to the place that they need to be because I've done it to myself. And I feel like lived experience or leaning into people within the business that have had that experience and asking them to say, what would you do in this situation if you've never gone through something like that, is a mental health policy. And it doesn't have to fall on the shoulders of somebody who's never experienced it.
Mm-hmm.
My business partner has just left, right? He won't mind me saying he's had a bit of mental health troubles and he's never had it before. But I have. You know, and now I was in prime position to be able to help him over the last couple of weeks. And he's been entirely grateful. But there are times when he's looked at people, perhaps, and we all do, where he thinks, well, why can't they just pull their socks up? Because he's never had that lived experience. So I think having a policy of openness within the business, which is like mental health and mental fitness, what are we doing about it? It's okay to talk about it, but what are we doing about resolving it and working it through? Creates an environment where people don't feel fearful if they are under stress or under pressure. Because some people haven't got an off switch and will just do their paraplanning probably when they're at home because they think, oh shit, I've got, you know, Chris has asked me to do that and I've got to do this and I've got to do that. And it not only does it like they feel like they've got to get the laptop out and do it in their own time, but more importantly, it lives in here. You know, I'm like that 24 hours a day, man. I'm just always in my work mode. And I have to recognize that that's not healthy. And I need to be able to articulate that. And so people can hear or say, Sam, you work too hard. You need to switch off sometimes. And I need to listen, you know? Mm. And it's the same for everybody in my business. If we all create a nurturing environment where we're looking out for each other, and then we've got signposts and processes in place to deal with that, mental health and mental fitness becomes just part of life and part of businesses and the culture of the businesses. And that's something that we've created and something I'm really proud of. Something I don't see much of within financial planning. I just don't see it that much. And it's a shame.
I think there needs to be a recognition of it, in my opinion. If you are a manager and you've never had anyone come up to you and say, I'm having a bad day, I'm struggling, I would suggest you need to look at yourself.
Yeah.
For manager, I go back to that performance, image and exposure. If no one said that to you, what do your team think your response will be if they've never done it? You could have the team that's never had a down day, never has a vulnerability, never struggled. Then it could exist, but sure, it does exist. I've never come across it though. And if you're a manager, look, a great thing managers can do, and I do it a lot. I'm working with a head of Paraplanning at the moment. Do a 360 survey for your team, completely anonymous. What do your team think about you?
Yeah.
Completely anonymous. But you need to, again, and actually I said it to the team and I sent it out to them going, this manager wants to get better. They need to see their blind spot. Now, what I mean by blind spot is everyone has a blind spot. That piece of, I've got an image of myself. My image of myself is probably not the image that my wife has of me. She's the closest person to me. There are blind spots that I have to myself that she will see. Now, if you're a manager, you will have blind spots. It's a part of being a person. Everyone has a blind spot. And actually, and I frame this in a positive to the team, going, your manager's working on yourself. What a culture of self-development that is they are going out of their way, asking for potentially some welcome feedback, but it might be negative feedback for that manager. But they're wanting to know it and they want to embrace it. They want to improve. That's what you want from a manager.
I think that's a brilliant idea. I think that's really great. And I think more businesses need to do it. I think framing it with what are they doing that you really like? Again, what are they doing that perhaps they need to work on? Ways that they can improve. And sometimes like it's about framing it that we're not looking for just what you dislike about the person, right? Because no one's perfect. Right. But we do need to understand those things because they could be common across if you had interviewed if you sent out to 100 people within the business and it came back and said you're scoring 3 on personability or whatever, or empathy or whatever, then there's something there that needs to be worked on. But it could just be quite simple that somebody's recognized that you seem to lack confidence, that you're hard on yourself.
It could even be more practical things. Sam, before 9 o'clock, you're not that. Before you have your morning coffee, I don't want to speak to you.
Yeah.
So as a manager, you need to have a coffee earlier because you need to be able to speak to people. There's things that actually you might just think. You go to work, you you're always there. I'm in work, I'm present, but actually your team don't think you're present for half of it because they know if you've got your headphones in, you're working. You don't want to be disturbed. Now, I could be a manager just going, it's quite loud in the office. I don't mind someone coming up to me, but I just like to block out the background noise. But their team are perceiving that as going, headphones in, don't talk to them. And it's that awareness going, I didn't even know, it's my blind spot. I didn't even know I was being perceived that way. So thank you, team. Sam, thank you for telling me you don't like my cheese jokes, because actually I thought they were really funny, but you don't like them, so I'm not going to say them.
It's about being open and honest, looking for ways you can improve, being open to change and feedback, and that create a culture also, I think, of mental fitness. Like, don't just say it, do it, and offer things within benefits packages or mentoring or whatever it is, and have those things in place. Because also, as a business owner, what you don't want to have is someone turn around and say, well, you don't ever offer anything like that. And it's like, well, hang on, I've got a whole benefits package here. I could give you, these guys in my office get 8 free counselling sessions. They're on 9-day fortnights. They do flexible working. This is recruitment, by the way. You know, like free PT sessions, you know, healthcare. You're like, fuck me, you don't get that in recruitment, mate. You know, I am going above and beyond for these individuals, right? So when he turn around and say, oh, I'm this and I'm that, and I'm saying, well, let's have a little look at what you get up to at the weekend then. Did you get shit-faced again? You know, did you spend your weekend not actually filling up your cup? What are you doing that can make these improvements? And have you used this over here yet to help you recognize that? Or are you just making an excuse because you're underperforming and really you've caused it to yourself, but you need someone like me to help identify that? The amount of honest, direct conversations that I've had because of the benefit of having everything around it that offers them support and the openness culture, and the difference in people out there has been insane, because there is no excuse. Honesty rules. Do you know what I mean? Because it's all there wrapped around you. If you can't see it and you're not using it, then what's the problem? Let's look at the problem.
That's bang on. When that touched earlier about Sunday Fair, and if I ever had it, I had it at the start of my career where I moved to a firm. It was an award-winning firm. The firm was excellent.
Yeah. But
I wasn't ready. I was a 23-year-old that moved 200 miles away from all my family, friends, straight from university. I knew no one there. I thought I'd play rugby, so I'll meet people. Got injured over and over, so I wasn't playing rugby. And I was working somewhere, trying to do all my exams. I was living in a house share. It wasn't the right fit for me then. If I went back there now, it would be a match made in heaven. But at the time, it wasn't right. And it took that employee to go, Sam, I don't think this is right. Now, people think, see, you were sacked. He went, no, not at all, actually. They pointed out the blindingly obvious. And actually, it's where I got to give them credit. And where I sort of got this whole being honest is normally the fairest thing to do. Yeah. They could have easily let me continue to plod along. I wasn't making mistakes. I was just doing an okay job. But they knew I wasn't enjoying it. And they pointed out going, I don't think this is for you right now. And I went, no, you're right, it's not. So I went off travelling. I went to Thailand. We spoke a bit earlier. I had a great time. Came back, found the firm closer to home in Manchester. Career's taken off. Yeah. It's all about nurturing that, training people and nurturing that culture. And there's something that I was speaking to, it's an old saying, but I used it on someone I was speaking to the other day, going, Sam, what happens if I hire you? I love what you're saying. I love your ideas. I love your new ideas, modern concept and the way of looking at it. But what happens if I hire you? I put this effort into this team leader and then they leave. And I go, all right, what happens if you don't hire me and they stay? And he went, oh, exactly. If you get someone that's not doing the job to the best of their ability, in the long run, is going to harm you. There's more risk than just a cost for a consultant.
No.
If you need to train people well, because the alternative is you don't train them and they stay and you're in a far worse position.
100%. Sam, I'm going to bring it to an end there because we've been talking for quite some time. I could talk to you all day long. And I want to make sure that we cut it off there because it's brilliant. And I want people to hire you as a consultant in their business to learn more about you. So what we're going to do is get you out on LinkedIn. I'm going to push you out there, okay? Because I think you're fantastic. I think you add value. I think this episode's been brilliant for paraplanners, brilliant for those interested in paraplanning, but also brilliant for business owners because there's a huge amount of value that's come from this. I've learned a lot myself. So thank you so much for your time today, Sam. And I look forward to continue working with you in our academy, continue cross-referring people into the Paraplanner Club. I think that's a really good place to go. And thank you so much for your time, Sam.
No, thank you very much. And just from before I was on here, I was a fan, and I just want to say thank you for everything you've been doing. It's excellent. I'm actually pinching myself that I'm here, but no, thank you very much. It's been great to chat to you.
Oh, mate, that's awesome. Thank you for the feedback. Cheers, buddy.
Thank you.